And I love this setting. Thank you so much. Well, welcome again to our Sunday service. And those of you who are watching on our live stream, thank you for joining us. As many of you know, we had intended to have our grand reopening in-person service today. But after taking all things into consideration, we decided the safest option would be to continue holding our services online until we were certain that all safety precautions taken would be sufficient to keep everyone safe. Considering all the variants and the cases are rising, even among those who have been vaccinated, I agree with this decision. Needless to say, I was very disappointed, especially after several of us had met in early August to do a test run to make sure that we could not only meet in person, but anyone who wished to join us on Zoom or the live stream could continue to do so. The rehearsal went really well, and we were all prepared and ready to go. I was full of anticipation and excited, only to realize that what we had been waiting for, the ability to meet in person again, would have to be postponed. And so the waiting continues. What it did do, though, was give me an opportunity to think about what waiting is and to actually do a Sunday talk about it. So there's a reason for the saying, patience is a virtue, because even without realizing, we spend so much time waiting. I don't think we really realize all the waiting that we do. You know, we wait for the traffic light to turn green so we could go. We wait on lines at stores. Wait on lines to refill our car gas tanks. Wait on the phone for customer service to pick up. That's a long wait lots of times. We sit in waiting room for doctor's appointments. And how about waiting for the new season of your favorite TV show to come back on, or waiting for the weather to change or the seasons to change? There's so many ways we wait, and sometimes it seems to never end. I'm sure all of us here, like me, have been waiting for us to be able to hold in-person services again, waiting for this pandemic to be over, waiting for things to go back to what was, quote unquote, normal. Within the word normal is the idea that things will remain the same, that nothing will change, that we'll be able to stay in a state of comfort surrounded by what we already know and not be threatened by the possibility of change. But what is normal? There is no normal, because everything in the world is changeable. We're constantly changing. So within this waiting lies opportunity and purpose. One thing that we're collectively waiting for and working towards is waking up. Waking up to the realization that there is no separation. Waking up to realizing our divine self, our divine nature, and then living from that awareness. In the mundane world, waiting can appear to be a waste of time, because in our culture, we're supposed to be busy all the time. And being forced to wait can be very uncomfortable. Uncomfortable because waiting creates fear. Some people have a hard time waiting because they're afraid of their inner feelings, afraid of other people, afraid of the future. Some people have a hard time waiting because they're feeling fear and they want to run from the fear. They want to escape it, to do anything so they don't have to sit and feel what they're feeling. But most of our valuable lessons are learned by not doing anything, by just being with ourselves and allowing ourselves to feel whatever it is when it comes up. In the early years of my spiritual development, I used to do just that. When I would feel something uncomfortable churning deep within me, instead of running from it or escaping from it, I would just sit with it. I would literally sit down and just allow myself to feel what it was. And believe me, there were times it was very difficult. But that difficulty facilitated some of the deepest healings that I had that were life-changing. Waiting has a purpose. The act of waiting offers the opportunity for us to call on the powers of faith, trust, and order. Those powers within us that help us overcome the experience of fear. All human emotions can be consolidated into just two: love and fear. Love is that part of us that's connected to divinity, to spirit, to truth, to divine intelligence, to the absolute, or whatever term you use for God. It's that self that's spelled with a capital S. Fear, on the other hand, only exists in the world. So when we're in a state of fear or having fear thoughts, we are identifying with our ego self. That's the self spelled with a small s, the personality or the limited self. So when we're functioning from that level of oneness, from knowing that we are love and connected to divinity, we know that divine timing is active in our lives and in the universe. There are many references to waiting throughout Scripture. Isaiah 40:31 says, "They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and they not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint." We're being told here that waiting makes us stronger, because instead of relying on ourselves, we're relying on our divine creator. We're relying on God. Now, believe me, I understand that there are those who are in the midst of waiting for a dream to be realized, for something to happen, for a healing to take place. And with that, they may feel helpless. You may feel as if you're doing nothing, but you're actually doing something very important. This waiting is probably the most important spiritual work we will ever do. While we're waiting, we're allowing ourselves to get in touch with the faith that is already within us. And we allow ourselves to live with truth and trust. Spiritual transformation doesn't take place when we get what we want. It takes place while we're waiting. It's forged in us while we're waiting with faith and trust, even though we have yet to receive that which we long for. Spiritual transformation happens in the waiting room. Waiting also helps us learn the vital lesson that just because the dream is delayed doesn't mean patiently and place our trust in God and in God's schedule, not ours. We begin to gain the type of long-range perspective that allows us to have peaceful souls. Even when the storms of life are raging around us, with God, we can wait out the storm and see the sun breaking through the clouds. When we trust in the divine, we will eventually see the rainbow and the rebirth of our hopes and dreams. Scripture cites many instances of Jesus waiting. The Dutch priest, professor, writer, and theologian Henri Nouwen, who was firmly rooted in psychology, pastoral ministry, spirituality, and social justice, wrote a book in 1995 called The Path of Waiting. In it, he tells the story of being called to the bedside of a friend who had spent his life as a social activist, busily involved with caring for others, but now he was in the end stages of cancer and was confined to his bed. He confessed to Nguyen that he had no way to even think about his life. His entire self-identity had always been framed by doing, by actively working on behalf of others. How, he wanted to know, could he understand his present circumstance in a way that didn't lead to despair? Henri answered this question by pointing his friend to the last days of Jesus's life. Up until the point in his life, Jesus's ministry had consisted largely by doing, by healing, by teaching, by confronting, by comforting, and by actively modeling the God life for all of those that he met. But when he was arrested by the temple police, he was forced into a time of waiting. Henri wrote, "The central word in the story of Jesus's arrest is one I never thought much about. It is to be handed over. Some translations say that Jesus was betrayed, but the Greek says he was handed over. Judas handed Jesus over. But the remarkable thing is that that same word is used not only for Judas, but also for God. God did not spare Jesus, but handed him over for the benefit of all. Immediately after Jesus is handed over, he becomes the one to whom things are being done. He's arrested. He's being led to the high priest. He's being taken before Pilate. He's being crowned with thorns. He's being nailed on the cross. These are being done to him over which he has no control. Jesus does not fulfill his vocation in action only, but also in waiting. He doesn't just fulfill his vocation by doing the things the Father sent him to do, but also by letting things be done to him that the Father allowed to be done to him. In a way, his agony is not simply an agony of approaching death. It is also an agony of having to wait. So what Henri is saying here, even Jesus had to endure waiting in order to fulfill his greatest purpose. In that same way, as we wait in faith, we become more like Christ in the expression of God qualities. So we've set our intention, we put it out to the universe, we've prayed and prayed and prayed about it, but nothing's happening. Does it mean that it's not going to happen? Is it time to give up? I think so many people give up too soon and fail to see all the possibilities that may be placed before them. We need to remember the limitlessness of God. And as it says in Matthew 19:26, with God, all things are possible. It may not come in the way we want it or when we want it, but the important thing is to continue trusting the end result to God, even when the outcome we want are not immediately apparent. Remember that faithful waiting involves actively seeking peace, contentment, and even amid less than optimal circumstances. So it's in the waiting that we cultivate our faith, trust, and inner knowing that whatever is going on around us is there for us. And everything is in divine order. So we continue to do what we can do. We take steps, the steps we know to take without getting frustrated because we're not where we want to be yet. We stand firmly knowing that there is a greater plan for each of us, knowing that it may look different than what we asked for, but it's there for us. So we move forward in faith and trust, remembering that with God, all things are possible. We know and we affirm that we will hold Sunday services in person again. And while we wait for that to happen, we focus on what we can control and what we can do to make it safer for ourselves and others. We wear masks. We get vaccinated if that's something we choose to do. And most of all, spread truth, not lies. That means not getting sucked into conspiracy theories and to fact check everything with a reputable, unbiased source before we share it. In every life, there are times of great forward motion and times of just waiting. Just as after being so active in his ministry, Jesus had to wait, we too must recognize and conform ourselves to this holy rhythm of waiting on divine timing and divine order. So now I invite you to get comfortable in your seats and close your eyes as we move into meditation. I invite you to take everything off your lap, put your feet flat on the floor, and just allow yourselves to breathe. Allow yourselves growing more and more relaxed with every breath you take. And you feel yourself relaxing as you continue to breathe at a comfortable pace for you. I call upon divine order for balance in my daily journey. If I'm feeling overwhelmed with responsibilities or life feels out of balance, I turn away from outer appearances. I picture my life as a beautiful path, a journey of discovery and joy. One step at a time, I move forward to that which is mine to do. I see all aspects of my life in order against a backdrop of gratitude, spiritual purpose, and direction. If I'm wishing for something that has not yet appeared, I trust that my good easily comes to me in divine timing. And I see my body working in divine order. It is healthy, whole, and full of energy and life. I take time to appreciate nature, its beauty, balance, and perfect timing. I delight in the symmetry of a seashell or the layers of art in a cloud. As I create a sense of order in my home, my work, and all my activities, I discover balance and peace. And as I affirm there is one presence and power in my life, all else falls into place. And I claim divine order now. And with this, I allow myself to move deeper and deeper into the silence. And I just listen. And now I bring to mind anyone who may be in need of prayer. All those on our prayer list on Silent Unity. We extend this prayer to honor Labor Day and all the workers of the world. And we hold in our hearts and in our minds all those who were affected by the atrocities of September 11th. All those who lost their lives, all families, and all who were traumatized. We affirm that there's a power and presence within each of us that will see us through any difficult circumstance that is temporary. The only permanence that is in our lives is God. So we express our thanks and gratitude for the knowledge and the awareness of our divine source. And with that, I invite you to bring your consciousness back into your body, back into the room where you are. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And this is the time in our service where we have the opportunity to give. So I invite you to take your gifts, hold them in your hand. And if you choose to offer your gifts through our website, the donate button on our website, or use PayPal or credit card, I invite you to envision any or all of those as we allow the love that we are to move down from our heart, infusing these gifts with our love, infusing these gifts with the gratitude of the knowledge that God is our source and God consciousness is our supply. Infusing these gifts with the awareness that as we give, we receive. So we give freely and open our arms to receive all the good that is there for us. So I invite you to affirm and bless these gifts with me, with your mics muted. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I choose to give and all that I am open to receive, and I am grateful. And I thank you to everyone who joined us through the live stream. And if you're interested in attending our service via Zoom, please contact us through Facebook Messenger on our Facebook page or email us at unity@unityspiritualcenter.org.